So I think a lot of people agree with me when I say that Disney isn't exactly the best company right now. At one point, they were probably considered pioneers of the animation industry and of storytelling. I mean, they had a lot of classic movies, Lady and the Tramp, Cinderella, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which is actually the first 2D animated movie, and so on and so forth. They had a lot of really classic movies that many people enjoy, myself included. Nowadays, people would use other words to describe them, and not a lot of them are good. Me personally, I would use the words money hungry, washed up, and most importantly, lacking creativity. And I don't think there's a better example of Disney's lack of creativity than the Disney live action remakes. Now, for a while, this wasn't really considered an issue by some people. This actually, the live action remakes actually started, I think, a lot sooner than many people realize. So, it really started back. Well, there was like Maleficent, which is a live action movie about the original Sleeping Beauty main villain, which was actually pretty good. I saw it; it was actually pretty decent, a lot better than I thought it would be. But I think the trend of live action remakes of Disney movies started with Cinderella in 2015, like a live action remake of Cinderella. Then the next year in 2016, there was The Jungle Book. And then I think this is the one this is the most people are familiar with at this time, the remake of Beauty and the Beast in 2017 with Emma Watson as Belle. So none of these movies were particularly bad. I consider bad by many people. I mean, I saw The Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast, and I thought they were both pretty decent. They weren't anything spectacular, but they were all right. And I don't think really a lot of people took issue with it. I mean, I'm sure people complained about the lack of creativity back then, but it really wasn't as much of an egregious issue, in my opinion, at this point. However, people really started to take note how uncreative this trend of live action remakes was with the 2019 version of The Lion King. So first off, this version had a lot of big name actors in it. You had Donald Glover as Simba. You had Beyonce as Nala, and you had Seth Rogen as Pumbaa. Just like look at the cast and see a lot of big names in the cast of The Lion King. But that's not the main issue. The main issue is just how the main issue that people took with is just how awful the avatars looked in this movie. So they used realistic looking lion characters rather than the cartoon faces of the original. Which even I'm sure if they used actual cartoon faces, it would be an uncanny valley nightmare. However, the emotion of the characters would still be there. So, as I'm sure many people know, the emotion of the characters is completely lost when you use realistic-looking lion characters. Which this wasn't just an issue for the lions; it was an issue for Timon and Pumbaa. It was an issue for the hyenas and so forth. So, yeah, many people took issue with that, and it just looks terrible. And if you really want to know just how bad the characters look in comparison to the original, just watch the Stampede in the original Lion King animated movie, which, in my opinion, I'm sure many people will agree with this, is one of the best, if not the best, Disney film of all time. Just watch the Stampede in that one versus the one in the remake, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And so far, as of 2022, and I'm sure I've skipped over a few here, but these are the most famous examples. So far, Disney has released a live-action remake of Aladdin, Dumbo, Lady and the Tramp, Mulan, and most recently Pinocchio. I'm sure there's several more, but those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. So Lady and the Tramp suffered from the exact same problem. I'm talking about this one in particular because it suffered from the exact same problem as the live-action remake of The Lion King, as in the characters looked completely void of emotion. So yeah, that definitely had some problems. That people took issue with that. So Aladdin, I didn't think was terrible. I didn't think Will Smith was that bad as the genie. I think you cannot absolutely replace. There is no way to replace Robin Williams as the genie, but he did a fine job. Jafar was completely ruined in that movie. So yeah, like a lot of people took issue with these movies for a variety of reasons. The one thing is the lack of creativity. Like so, all these movies can be described as uncreative and lazy at best, and just bad movies at worst. I think the perfect example of these are Mulan and Pinocchio. Like the live-action remakes of Mulan and Pinocchio are just terrible. Pinocchio, the most recent one, is just a terrible movie overall because it absolutely fails at capturing the magic of the original. And Mulan is terrible because of a lot of outside reasons, as well as the fact that the movie itself is terrible writing and they completely ruined Mulan's character. So for me, I just want Disney to go back to creating original stories and stop trying and most often failing to recreate their old classes and capture their magic again. Oh, and you best bet the Disney, the Pixar movies are next.